Okay, hello and welcome everyone to today's Very God Boss Live. We are beyond excited to have you all join us. We're going to give folks a couple of seconds to connect, but while we're waiting, we'd love to know where everyone is tuning in from. So you'll see on the right side of your screen, there's a chat box where you can drop us a message. So if you feel comfortable enough doing so, send us a message in the chat letting us know where you're joining from. Okay, so I'm sure folks are putting in where they're coming from. Oh, I see a first one here: Minneapolis, St. Paul, Boston, Massachusetts, Cleveland, Ohio. A lot of folks from the US, Egan, Milwaukee, Toronto, Michigan. Okay, so it looks like people are dialing in. Ooh, even Costa Rica and India, looking more global now. Okay, so keep that coming. Good to hear that we are seeing a bunch of folks from all over the world. So, why don't we go ahead and get started? Before we do so, I'll introduce myself to everyone. My name is Malia Mua. I'm a program manager at Thomson Reuters, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. I have been with Thomson Reuters for almost 4 years now in numerous teams. I have worked a total of 14 years in tech, primarily in project and program management. Currently, I am working in the data and analytics organization overseeing data lake program delivery. Before we actually kick this off, there's a couple of housekeeping items that I just wanted to run by. Just so you know, today's event will be recorded and shared via email afterwards. During the discussion, please use the chat on the right side of your screen to send us messages and comments. And please use the Q&A tab to send any questions for our panelists. All right? Okay, so let's go ahead and get this event started. Today's topic is how to manage a team that employees don't want to leave, sponsored by Thomson Reuters. We are excited to be joined by 4 leaders at Thomson Reuters: Anu, Kirat, Sudha, and Christine. Why don't we have them quickly introduce themselves and their backgrounds? Okay, Anu, why don't we start with you?
Thanks, Malia. Pleasure to meet you all. My name is Anu Doda. I have been with TR for about 5 years now, and currently I lead product engineering for corporate tax and trade business. As per my background and career journey, I have 25 years of experience in the industry across several roles. I started out as an engineer and like worked as an architect, then in the leadership roles at various levels. And I've also tried various business domains like retail, finance, banking, and payments, and now tax and trade. It's pretty exciting to be here today because this topic is pretty close to my heart. As a leader, I think it is very important for us to create the best climate for our teams to foster the best outcomes for business and the company overall. So I'm pretty excited to share some of my own insights along with my colleagues here.
Thank you so much, Anu. Kira, please introduce yourself.
All right, thanks, Malia. My name is Kirat Sikhan, and I am also super excited to be here with all of you today. The topic of teams is one that I think is mission critical to everyone's success, and I think it is something that we don't give enough time to on a day-to-day basis. I've been with Thomson Reuters for over 20 years, which is a bit embarrassing to say when I look back at my career, but I've had an opportunity to wear so many different hats at Thomson Reuters, starting out as an entry-level developer, having opportunities to move across domains. And currently, I head up our product engineering organization, delivering software solutions for our tax professional customers.
Thank you very much for that, Sudha. Thank you very much for that, Kira. Sudha, you're up next. My apologies.
No problem. Hello, everyone. It's really great to be here as well. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Sudha Adipalli, and I've been with Thomson Reuters about 5 years now as well. And I've enjoyed every single bit of it being here. Overall, I have over 28 years of experience in technology. Again, starting my career as an engineer and growing into various leadership roles and in different industries, finance, banking, retail as well. But it's never been a dull moment in my life through this career. And I'm really excited to talk about this topic. Like Anu said, it's very dear to my heart as well. We all are very excited to be here. Thank you. Looking forward to our discussion.
Okay, thank you for that, Sudha. And last, Christine, please introduce yourself and your role at Thomson Reuters. And why don't you kick off this discussion to really dive into, what Thomson Reuters have done to manage and keep their employees, which is really the heart of this discussion today.
Thank you, Malia. Happy to do so. Hi, everyone. My name is Christine Hoffman. I'm the HRBP for Product Engineering, and I have just almost celebrated my 10 years at Thomson Reuters. I've been practicing HR for over 20 years. I kind of stopped counting at 20, but I love what I do, and I'm passionate about this topic. So today we are here to discuss how to manage a team that employees don't want to leave. But before we get to the topic at hand, let me tell you a little bit about Thomson Reuters. At Thomson Reuters, access to justice and transparency are at the heart of everything we do. We are a leading provider of business information services. Our products include highly specialized information-enabled software and tools for legal, government, tax, accounting, and compliance professionals, combined with the world's largest global news service, Reuters. We have approximately 25,000 employees in over 70 countries. When I think back over the past couple of years, I'm still amazed at the shift that we've seen. We went from a feeling of uncertainty in 2020 into the Great Resignation. Today, companies are experiencing attrition rates in the 20% range and a fierce competition for that talent. At Thomson Reuters, we haven't been immune to attrition. But let me share some things that we've done to help us bring down our attrition rates. Throughout the pandemic, we made it a priority to communicate with employees and collect their feedback via surveys and via discussions. We were transparent that we didn't have all the answers, but we would work together and we would work through it together. Knowing this remote virtual environment was new to so many, we worked with managers to help them understand how to manage and support teams in a virtual environment. We leaned into our networking tools such as 10,000 coffee chats, fireside chats, virtual happy hours, all to help continue to make that feeling of community and connection. We started conducting stay interviews. Each month, leadership connects with employees across their team, focusing on what employees like about their role and what they would like to change. We then discuss this feedback during our leadership meetings, looking for themes and possible action items. Now that we are back to some level of travel, each time we travel, we hold small group chat sessions with employees where there's no topic that's off limits. We listen, we gather their feedback, and again, we discuss this at our leadership meetings. One practice we started during the pandemic was Resiliency Week, and we've continued this through today and into the future. This includes a series of events where speakers are focused on mental health and well-being. In 2020, we added a day off in recognition of Juneteenth to help build awareness and drive change. In 2021, TR signed the Mindful Business Charter, knowing and showing that our commitment to making mental health and well-being of all of our employees a priority. This included adding 2 company mental health days per year. This year, we launched Flex My Way. This includes an expanded work from anywhere policy that includes international destinations beyond the employee's home country. It also includes a new sabbatical program, a caregiver time off program, and enhanced bereavement benefits. We also have global volunteer days, and we have 16 volunteer hours per year so that we can give back to our community. We focus on TR being a place where employees can grow their career. We have learning academies focused on learning and development. This includes people skills and technical skills. We are also in the process of launching career paths so employees understand exactly how they can grow their careers. We focus on knowing our key talent and understanding their career goals. Similar to stay interviews, the leadership team connects with key talent within their team and outside of their team each quarter. We also discuss rotation opportunities or project opportunities for those who are ready for a different challenge. We encourage employees to have development plans and development conversations with their managers. and we encourage performance check-ins and continual feedback. We know there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to attracting and retaining talent, but we are committed to supporting our employees' entire well-being, personally and professionally. I'll hand it back to you, Malia.
Thank you so much for that, Christine, and thank you for providing much of the insight. So now we're going to move on to our panel discussion. But before we do so, I would just like to remind everyone, for those that are just tuning in, that we will be answering questions that come directly from all of you. So please submit your questions on the chat to your right-hand screen, okay? All right, so let's dive right in here. So today we're here to talk about how to manage a team that employees don't want to leave, a topic that resonates with much of you, I'm sure. Let's start off by discussing what kept you at Thomson Reuters and how did culture play a role here? Anu, why don't we start with you?
Definitely, Malia. So I think when I think about what kept me at Thomson Reuters and every day what I wake up to and what is it that I look in this company that keeps me going, one is, and Christine gave a good highlight around this in her introduction, is the purpose, right? The company's purpose. And for me, it is very important that the work I do matters, right? And as much as it needs to. And I think some of the solutions that we offer to the market around whether it is access to justice or helping legal professionals or helping corporations to be compliant with the government and things like that, I always see that as what we do strengthens the society, right? So that excites me. I think that purpose and what we do around the purpose excites me. And the second one is culture. I personally believe culture is not about how it is said to be, but lived by the people in the company. Culture is people, people is culture, right? And when I start the work, when I look at the people I work with or people that are in my team or my leadership, like we believe in our values and we try to embody those values and kind of lead by example. So I always think it's a rare opportunity to get to work with a bunch of people who share your core values as a person, and the integrity and things like that, right? So that is another thing. And nature of the work and growth opportunities is the other thing. And I've been here only for 5 years, but in 5 years I've taken 3 different jobs so far, right? And that is all according to my passion and the challenge that I want to take on and all that stuff. So things like that are very interesting for me. And that's what I look for as a leader and as a technologist and all that stuff.
Thank you so much, Anu, for sharing your story. Sudha, why don't you talk a little bit more about what kept you going at Thomson Reuters?
Sure. Like Anu said, one of the key things for me is people as well, the people that I get to work with, and the culture. When I say culture, it's about being able to appreciate each other and move forward, and also the challenges that we are able to solve together, and having fun while doing that, right? I think that's been one of the key factors that has kept me here. And from my career progression perspective, I kind of beat Anu. I think this is my 4th role in 5 years, and all of them have been pretty much, a very good career path progression way. So I really see that as a great opportunity, where talent is recognized and we can be who we want to be, and the values that we want to bring to work, we are allowed to do that. That's what excites me. And then as a technologist, pure technologist at heart, for me, technologies matter, and the way we move ahead with technologies and we modernize and we adopt technologies, that's something that really excites me every day. And having a product mindset, thinking from a product perspective, thinking about what our customers need and working towards that, that customer obsession that I see, that really keeps me going. And along with, being able to work with global teams, learning new cultures, that's what excites me every day.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Sudha. And Kira, why don't you share a little bit about your story and what kept you a long time at Thomson Reuters?
Yeah, so I agree with everything both Anu and Sudha have shared so far. And there's many things that have kept me here, but if I had to summarize it, there's three main points for me. One is opportunities that I've personally had, the investment that the company has made in myself and others in the organization, and then the people. And so if we talk about the opportunity standpoint, I've had an opportunity to wear so many different hats at Thomson Reuters after the last 22 years of being with the company. And there was a point in my career where I started to question, have I stayed at TR too long? Should I be looking for a new experience outside that I can't get at TR? And what was so wonderful about that point in time in my career is that I didn't even have to look outside TR to get that new experience. I was able to move to a different part of the business where it felt like I was working for a different company as far as the ways of working day to day, while getting the benefits of the larger culture that TR promotes. So that was a really good thing for me. So yeah, opportunities has been really important. When it comes to, excuse me, the investment the company has made in myself, there's been so many training opportunities that I've had throughout my career to better myself and better, my coworkers around me. I've also had the opportunity to have leaders really believe in me and what I was capable of doing and pushing me to try different things. And with that, also enabling me to fail. If something didn't work out, it wasn't a negative, right? There was that culture of failing fast and having leaders enable you to try something different and allowing you to fail, I think is really important. And then lastly, it's the people. We spend so much of our time at work every day. And so working with people where you create friendships, working with people that you get to learn from, working with people that you enjoy being with, it makes it all that much better when you have that kind of environment around you.
Thank you very much, Kiara, for sharing your story. And Christine, why don't you share?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, definitely the people that I work with on a day-to-day basis. They are smart, and they make me want to bring my best self to work. There's a sense of team and connection. The employees truly care about each other, and they take time to get to know you. And it's refreshing. And then the freedom that I have to do my job. I can test, I can iterate. I have the freedom to do that, and my boss completely trusts me to do so. I'm someone who really enjoys finding solutions to challenging problems, and I can honestly say that within the past 10 years, I have never once been bored. And to me, that's really important, and that really energizes me, because I left a former company because I brought ideas forward, and my boss was like, everything is running really great. Just keep things the way it is. And that to me, it's not who I am, and it's not how I want to show up to work. And then my manager and my business partners trust me to do my job. And I continually look for ways to see how can I be more effective in my role.
Thank you very much, Christine. Thank you, ladies, for sharing your stories. I don't have as much experience, or like you guys do, but just being my 4 years at Thomson Reuters, I can at least have three of you guys attest. Christine, Suda, Kirat mentioned you guys have been with Thomson Reuters for 15 plus years. So it says a lot about the company. And when you guys talk about how people is the culture and culture is the people, and that's what keeps us at Thomson Reuters day to day. Okay, so let's move on to our next discussion here. How did you make sure team members' pulse is being constantly checked while upkeeping their motivational levels and team bonding? Anu, why don't we start with you?
Definitely, Malia. I think it's a good point to touch upon. From my personal opinion, and this is what I've done over and over, I think every time when you take a new role, when you start creating a new team or connecting with a new team, I put in a lot of upfront work in terms of having them know me and me knowing the team, and kind of opening up that kind of way of working that I believe in, as in it's a two-way street, and we're going to have a lot of candid conversations, and you're open to speak about anything as much as I am to you, and together we're going to make things better. Together we're going to deliver for customers and all that stuff, right? It is very important to get to that point, and it doesn't come in one day, right? It is going to take work, and and that is, to me, is very important. That upfront work in creating that safety between us as a team is very important. And I think once you have that, um, you can check a lot of things, right? Not just the pulse of the team, but where they are from a motivation perspective, and what is going on, right? So the second one I would say is connect more, but keep it informal, right? I don't believe in these formal status review meetings and stuff like that. I try to connect as often as I can with my team and their team, and as much as possible spend most of my time with the team. And that's one way of keeping a pulse at what's happening and how the team is feeling for me. But keeping it informal just helps everybody, right? It's time well spent. We still know what we need to know in terms of risks and concerns and whatnot, or things that are going well as well, to put a spotlight and all that stuff. And in the end, what between those two things, I always see that there is a beautiful support system created between the team and also with the broader teams and extended teams. And that is very important for them to kind of continue to bond and flourish on top of it. So that's, I know, our friends here are going to share more techniques, but those are like two things that I want to put out there.
Thank you so much, Anu. I love that. Keeping things informal definitely makes people feel much more comfortable. Kirat, why don't you share a little bit of your story? How did you make sure team members' pulse is being constantly in check while keeping them motivated and also bonding?
Yeah, I think for me, it's all about keeping the human connection. A lot of what Anu said resonates with me, but that human connection is most important. Making sure that our interactions are more about the person and less about the work, right? The work will come, but each and every one of us, our team members, they're humans, they're people, they have lives outside of work. And it's really important to me to create those connections with the person and less about the connection with the work. So that's one of the big things that I try to focus on. The other piece that's really important to me is creating an environment where hierarchy and organizational boundaries don't get in the way of people feeling comfortable to talking to each other. I want to be in an organization where folks feel comfortable coming to me. My door is always open, and that hierarchy should not get in the way. And I also want to work in an organization where I feel that I can do that as well, regardless of the org boundary. So those are two things that I keep top of mind, and I try to put in place as best I can to ensure that we're really keeping a pulse on how our people are doing.
Thank you for sharing that, Kirat. And Sudha, why don't you talk a little bit about your experience and how you've managed to keep teams motivated, but their pulse at check?
Sure. I think a lot of the things which Anu and Kirat mentioned, having that human connection is what I follow too. But in addition to that, having those informal conversations is great. And I've tried something called Lean Coffee, where I just meet with a group of people there from across the organization. It could be at any level. There is no level or anything involved there. And we just do this informal chat. Anything can be asked. It's a safe zone. You actually get to know what's going on in their mind, and it's across locations. So it's like a mix of everyone. So that tells you how things are going on. And as leaders, I think we can catch that and try to address it right at the beginning, right? So that's one thing. And also having like skip level informal connects with teams to know what's on their mind. And celebrating successes, I think it's such an important thing, and every effort that the team puts in, right? And doing it immediately, whether while we were in the pandemic situation, doing it virtually through an happy hour, or now the teams are coming back into the office, having, going for a quick coffee, or just a lunch, or things, whatever works best for the team and however they can make it work. Doing that, I think, definitely shows our appreciation for them, right? And also, something else that we have tried is doing virtual trips, like get out of your comfort zone and work with your teams in their time zone. Like, for example, for me, I wake up early in the morning to work with my team in India and, have those connects with them. Doing those more often, I think, definitely helps to be in touch with the team and, understand what's going on and help them.
Thank you very much, Sudha. And Christine, what about you? Why don't you share your story and experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's three things that I want to touch on. First is the state interviews. So when we first kind of brought this idea forward, people weren't quite. It was not a new concept, but kind of a new concept to many, and this really allows us to have conversations with people, understanding, what is it that you like about your job? Do you feel good about the impact that you have at work? What could actually make it even better? If you were CEO for a day, what would you do differently? So just the different questions that we ask them, and to get them thinking, and then to give their honest opinion and feedback, has really helped us understand, are there roadblocks that we didn't realize were there? Are there things that we need to change? So state interviews have definitely helped. Two other things that we do is from an organizational standpoint, we go ahead and do monthly random pulse surveys. So every month randomly, I actually just got mine a couple days ago. People are asked to provide feedback, and it's a simple pulse survey, just asking, how do you feel about your job? Are you likely to stay? Would you recommend TR? Just gives us some insights as far as how people are feeling and thinking with regards to their role and Thomson Reuters. And then we also do a yearly OHI, so an Organizational Health Index survey. And that is a much lengthier survey, but that gives us some really, really great insights into management, how effective management is, what people are feeling, if they're feeling supported, if they're likely to go ahead and recommend TR as a place to their family or friends. And then we use the results from that OHI survey to actually influence what we do next year. So the OHI survey happens later in the year. We get that data, we look at it, and then that impacts things that we do the following year, so that we can really then measure, are we making progress against things that matter?
Thank you, Christine. Thank you very much, ladies, for sharing your stories. But what Christine actually talked about kind of leads us right into our next discussion. Given TR is among the top 20 list of employers where people love to stay, given we talked about, culture is people and it's all around our people, what did you do differently to manage the Great Resignation? And I know, Christine, you touched upon this a little bit earlier, but can you elaborate on this a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So while compensation is important, employees are really looking for things beyond just compensation. They're seeking employers that provide flexibility. They're prioritizing well-being and mental health, delivering growth and development opportunities, embracing diversity and inclusion, and then creating an opportunity to work towards a higher purpose. So we've taken this and we've really tried to make it, what we do as Thomson Reuters. We've had really positive feedback on how we've made well-being a priority. We focus on our employees' well-being versus just the work that needs to get done. We've hosted different events and meetings that continue to help that sense of community. The events have been everything from a step challenge to group volunteering opportunities. So they don't always have to cost money. It's about bringing people together. We ran an appreciation day, and this cost zero money, by the way. We ran an appreciation day within product engineering where we encouraged everybody within product engineering to send virtual appreciation cards, send an email, have a Teams call, or just pick up the phone and express and recognize coworkers for their contribution. And we received a lot of positive feedback on that. People really appreciated that. And then through it all, I've mentioned it, but we really do ask for feedback. And what we've done with that feedback is we dig deeper if we notice trends. So for instance, our people analytics team, when attrition started to increase, they created an attrition dashboard that highlights trends. So we were able to look at the attrition that was happening based on location, diversity, level within the organization, tenure within the organization, and really try to understand the why behind what was happening. And then we also held meetings for people managers to really talk about attrition and help them think of ideas and tips and tricks as far as how to lower attrition rates or to get in front of attrition that was happening. So that's what we did.
Thank you. Speaking of attrition and retention, so when it comes to that, how has your experience been managing global teams, and what has worked particularly well for you? Any tips and tricks that you can share with our audience today? Why don't we give Kirat to give this a go?
Yeah, so Global teams are becoming the norm now, right? We're working more globally every day and expanding to new locations on an ongoing basis. So there are a couple core things that I think have worked well for me. One has been around making sure that the team, the global team, understands the cultural differences for each location. They understand those cultural dynamics and they respect and value them. So that's mission critical for a team to be successful. That creates that sense of trust and that sense of team. The next is around defining kind of a set of working core hours that works for each team. So that set of working core hours is defined, agreed to by the team, and that really is the time where we get our biggest amount of collaboration. But outside of that, enabling each member of the team to flex in their working schedule based on what works for them. For example, if somebody wants to work earlier in the day for outside of those core hours versus others may want to work later in the day, enabling each team member to have that choice for how they flex. And I think the other big thing is around ensuring that each location that we operate in, we have proper opportunity for our people, and we have proper ownership. Each team member, regardless of where they are, should be treated as an equal member of the team, and they should be given the same amount of opportunity that we would give to other locations. So there isn't this mindset that we have second-class locations. Every location is a first-class citizen, and we treat our team members that way.
Thank you. I love that, how you phrased it. Every location is a first-class citizen. Sudha, why don't we move on to you? What have you done to tackle retention, and particularly what has been your experience in managing global teams?
Yeah, just tying back to what Kirat just mentioned, right, around ownership. I think it's very important for us to give that sense of ownership to our teams, and by building self-organized team where they're self-sufficient, where they can work independently. Of course, there is going to be cross-location collaboration, but still giving them that ownership and giving them that independence to run the team on their own. That's one of the things which has really helped. Rotation across teams, moving talent across multiple teams, whether by choice or whenever we see a need. It's something that has really helped us to, not only help our teams from a career perspective, but also, filling the gaps when there's a need and giving them greater opportunities. If someone wants to try something new, we are able to rotate. Again, we always think about our customer first, but we do it that way. And then opportunity to upskill, right? Giving them opportunity to learn. Like now we are moving towards the cloud, so giving them that opportunity where, as a technologist, that's something that everyone looks forward to. So having them opportunity to get certified, and promoting within the organization internal moves. I think that shows that how much we care about our employees. That's how we've given them opportunity to grow, right? And mentoring, being there for the team, whether you are officially a mentor or being there for someone when they have a question, having those open door policy where anyone can come to us, giving them that opportunity to look up to leaders and be able to learn from them. That's another great way in which we've been able to manage the teams.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Thank you both, Kara and Sudha. But we're just going to move on to the next discussion here. The pandemic had changed a lot of the way we work and interact together. So now that, as we navigate from a fully remote to a hybrid workforce model, how did you navigate the challenges while at the same time ensuring that employees feel connected to the team regardless of where they're working from? Christine, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So we communicated our commitment to the flexible hybrid workforce model. And for some people, this was an unpopular idea. But we stressed the importance of days in the office. They're really meant for in-person meetings, collaboration time, and those moments that matter, versus coming into the office just to sit on a Teams call. So we wanted to make sure that people were coming in for a reason, not just to sit in front of their monitor. We also didn't take a one-size-fits-all approach. Hybrid is different for each team, and we're okay with that. These differences make it so that the team can figure out what works for them and for the teams that they interact with and the individuals on those teams. We continue to monitor local guidance when it comes to social distancing and return to office guidelines. And if someone doesn't feel comfortable returning to office, we have an exception process in place where employees can go ahead and request an exception for a set period of time. Each location has been hosting return to office events that will resonate with that particular location. It could be a company picnic. It could be a tour of a new office space. It could be, lunches. It could be brown bag sessions. It could be happy hours. Whatever really works for that local location is what we want to happen, because we want to draw people back in. And then one thing that we do know is that we need to be purposeful to make things happen. The organic conversations that happened when we were in the office aren't going to happen in the virtual world if we don't make time for them to happen. And then, as I mentioned before, a team within Thomson Reuters is looking at what does the future of work look like for our employees and for Thomson Reuters. So we're measuring employee opinions. How often are they actually in the office? How often do they collaborate when they're in the office? Do they have the tools to do their job? And then that data is actually helping us decide our path forward and to reimagine the future for Thomson Reuters and how we work together.
Thank you very much, Christine, for sharing that insight. Anu, how about you? Why don't you share how were you able to navigate some of the challenges while keeping your employees feel connected to them?
Yeah, I think Christine covered it pretty well on that front as to everything that we are doing, and also the future of work team that is trying to understand the dynamics as to how the entire industry is moving and what we can learn from that and all that stuff. One thing I would add as a technical leader or a technology leader is understanding the dynamics and the nature of the work that every team does. And it's very different, right? Like team to team, things change, the way they are distributed change, and which location does what changes and all that stuff. So our guidance is really coach our leaders on the ground to figure out what works for that team, right? Like, for example, there's only two people in India, but rest of the team is in like Toronto or Dallas or something. There's no point in forcing the two folks in India come the day the Dallas team is coming to work or something like that, right? Rather, we're talking to the two folks in India as in when do you want to come? Does it make sense for you both to connect, or both of you to figure out if there's a product person coming on a particular day, or another person based on their development plans, coming that day is the day they want to come. It's kind of very much localized for the team is what we are encouraging, and really asking them to look at it as how do you want to take advantage of being in person, right? Not being in office, but being in person with each other. You could have agile ceremonies that you want to run in person, so you have the benefit of connecting with each other and getting kind of direct feedback on certain things or learn from each other. That's the kind of model we've been following with what Christine said as flexible hybrid working. So it's really asking each team to devise their own way of working into this and try to take advantage of it as much as they need to, versus just thinking of it as, oh, I need to go to office a day a week or a 2 day a week. Or if your team is not coming, or if the people you work with are not coming, then there's no point, right? So it's kind of promoting that, create a value out of this. Coming back to work is what we are trying to coach the teams with.
Mm-hmm. No, that's really good, Anu and Christine. So just to do a time check here, I think we're doing okay. We're going to move on to our last discussion to allow our audience to ask us any questions. I see a couple of them in the chat here. So the employees at TR have the longest employee tenure average of 9+ years. What kind of work does Thomson Reuters do that keeps its employees engaged and staying longer? Kirat, why don't you answer this one?
Yeah, so for me, it's been a lot about seeing the evolution over the years, right? So if you think about it, we have products, but we're constantly evolving them. We've evolved from desktop products to web-based products and now to cloud-based products. And that evolution is pretty amazing to watch, how we pivot and how we solve problems differently. There's also the customer evolution that we're seeing as well. Our customers and their industries are changing so much, how they're working, their ways of working, what they need to do their job, and what they're expecting just to be, automated things that they used to spend lots of time on. That is evolving too. So seeing how those two kind of evolutions come together, I think are really important to what keeps people at TR. The one other thing I will add to that is it's just as much the work, but also the culture and the kind of TR ways of working that I think keep people here. There's the work-life balance that is something that is mission critical and kind of front and center for all of us at TR, making sure we respect that and we create that as we go. So those two things together for me are why people choose to stay at TR.
Thank you, Kira. And Sudha, what about you? You've been at Thomson Reuters for a long time as well. Why don't you share a little bit of what kind of work Thomson Reuters does or you have done to keep your employees engaged?
Yeah, I think going back to what Kirat was saying, right? The technology advancement that I see we take on, right? The journey that we take on, the cloud migration, where we have products which are pretty mature, we are market leaders, but then still we don't choose to just stay and keep it status quo, right? We modernize our products, we look for improvements, we take customer feedback, and we always think about our customer first and make the changes to our products. And, like cloud migrations, building more cloud native products, converting from monoliths to cloud native solutions, thinking back and looking back at our customer feedback, making performance improvements and stabilizing our products. These things are constant changes that we are making in our products in the right direction, right? So again, as a technologist, that excites me, and that's what I think most of our TR folks look for. And we have core engineering principles that we are always following around automation, thinking about API first as we build new features in our products, and like I said, moving towards cloud native solutions. So from my perspective, I think giving that opportunity to the teams to learn and grow, and again, having that right balance of how do you learn and how do you grow in your career, I think it's what has kept people, I would say, employees here the longest.
Thank you so much for that, Sudha. I think we're out of time now. We did want to give the audience 15 minutes, for Q&A. Thank you so much. You ladies have rocked. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. But now we're going to turn it to our audience, okay? There's a couple of them that's been put in the chat here, so I'm just going to read them out loud. First question, what is the size of your teams, direct reports, and how often do you meet with your team? Formal status versus informal chats. Christine, did you want to take this one or?
So I have one direct report that actually sits in the same offices that I do. But product engineering is about a little over 3,000 employees. And so that's the group that I support in the big, in about 7 different countries. So what I do is I do have connections with different individuals in the organization. So for instance, I meet with Anu, I meet with Kirath, I meet with Sudha, and I meet with other leaders just to understand what's going on within their business. But then I also have skip level conversations. I also do stay interviews. I also do the group chat sessions where any topic is on the table. To make sure that, one, I continue to make it so that I'm very approachable, because to me, that's very important. I want people to know that they can come to me. But 2, I want to make sure that I have the pulse of what is going on and how the people are feeling.
Anu, did you want to add something to that too, given your role and size of the team?
Yeah, I think, size of the team always varies in the way we do things and focus on our products, invest into products, and that focus and priority changes every year, and accordingly we shift our teams and form different size of the teams. But I think to what Christine is saying, formal status update type of stuff is driven by what we call in the company OKRs, like, our objectives and key results that we set out. I know there's another question, so I'm trying to kind of maybe address both together. Basically, like, the way we do things is like, we know our purpose and we know our objectives and priorities for the year, and then we align what we want to achieve. And a lot of those objectives gets kind of put into a system where we also have shared objectives. When it comes to product engineering in the CIO organization, we may have some shared objectives that we want to achieve. All of that is kind of thought out, and of course there'll be changes along the way throughout the year and all that stuff, but at least starting the year we know clearly where we are headed, and that's how our teams are more aligned towards the mission and vision of the year, as to where we want to see our products from the time we started the year to where we wanted to see by the end of the year, based on our customer feedback, based on how industry is changing that we need to support, because we are also supporting a highly regulated industry. So we always have to keep up with the changes of the law and regulations and whatnot. So considering all that, we know what is our focus, where we want to go by the end of the year for our customers. So that's kind of how we not only align at a high level, but also drill that down into our teams, and that automatically, in my opinion, creates value for the teams, like, because teams know what they're delivering, and thereby it gets rolled up to support another team or whatnot, right? So, but in terms of formal status updates, the point I was coming to is really, we use OKRs and we decide how we want to meet, when we want to meet, for a formal kind of a review as to where we stand and all that stuff. Other than that, like, personally, I have a weekly kind of a check-in with my team. It's pretty informal and pretty, you don't need to if you don't have anything. But if I have anything, I'll tell them, hey, I want to talk about this and this. Please feel free to join. Right? So we do that very informally. Other than that, it's all like informal one-on-ones and as many as possible. Of course, I can't. I only have so much time in the week, so I do it as best as I can. But keeping that connection going with my team and their team and key talent across the organization, and also with my stakeholders, that is very important part of my job. And I try to kind of organize myself around that.
Yeah, I know you hit it, spot on. I think when it's meetings that we kind of control, it's not about it being a status meeting or an informal meeting. It's about bringing the informal into the meeting. So one thing we do in my space, with almost every meeting we have, and Christine knows this, we start our meetings out with like a dad joke, which is just, a silly joke of some sort. And that just kind of breaks the ice and gets us kind of, joking and sharing what we did over the weekend, whatever that is. But I think that's important that is built into how we work, with any meeting that we particularly own in our teams.
We have a leader in our team who brings that every time, and we talk more about how bad that joke
Yes.
was, really about the joke.
Yeah, and to add, I think whenever there is a need for a formal status, let's say there's a critical situation and we all need to monitor it closely and get that out of our way and get it under control, definitely, it's all on need basis, but there's no formal status updates, weekly decks, and things like that even I or my team does, because I think it's more about being able to connect more often so that you don't have to do these formal updates, right? So when there is a situation, we all as leaders know how to bring it up to notice and then get that addressed, right? I think it's all, that is what speaks to the culture that we have here, right? Where you don't need to feel pressured that, oh, I have to give my status report for XYZ, rather than just go get your job done. And if you're doing it well, customers are happy. That's what matters at the end. And if there's a need, we all jump in and we're all there in it together. I think that's how we handle it.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answers your questions. We're going to move on to the next one, please. So Christine, this one's for you. Are those surveys to get employee feedback anonymous?
They are. So both the monthly pulse survey and the OHI are anonymous. And in fact, if there is a manager who has less than 3 direct reports, or if there are less than 10 responses, that particular group does not get a dashboard of their results. The the responses are included in the overall dashboard, but that individual manager does not receive an individual dashboard because we want to make sure that nobody can figure out who said what.
Okay, sounds good. The next question, having TR's people and culture as an asset, how do you create value for your teams? I think this is an excellent question. Anu, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to start. I kind of alluded to this question earlier when I was talking about OKRs. Given we have alignment, or we create that alignment across the board, whether it is our product organization or product engineering or CIO organization upfront with our yearly planning as to these are our objectives. I mean, in the end, customer is in the center, right? And it is all about what do we need to do to serve our customers in the way that we need to, right? Like keeping up with different priorities, changing trends and changing laws, and also innovating on top of it. All those things, keeping all those things in mind, our OKRs are kind of set up and shared as well as objectives across the board. Sometimes we won't be doing something all by product engineering, but rather we need like other teams coming in and doing that. So again, like when there is so much focus and clarity around the objectives and the results that we want to achieve, I think the value is automatically created for the team that is delivering on it, right? And also teams to do the job that they're doing. It's very useful that they know the big picture. Like at least that's what we all strive for. Like, do the teams understand the big picture, why we need to do what we need to do, or are they just doing because someone had told them to? So one of the things we highly encourage, just ask if something does not make sense, or if you think it can be done differently, ask, right? Like don't hesitate. It doesn't matter to their manager, it doesn't matter, right? Like we really kind of follow the model of let go of hierarchy. There's no such thing as hierarchy. You're open to talk to anybody, all that stuff about doing things differently. I think that to me, that's how the like value is basically in terms of what are we doing to our customers? How are we making our products progress in the direction that we need to, technology wise and value wise? And how are we innovating ourselves to be more relevant in the market and offer more services to the customers on that front? So it's kind of, that like if once we have that clarity in terms of our objectives and they're aligned, I think the mission and vision, everything is kind of going in parallel with it, and that's what we check on every time as to where we are with that particular objective. Are we trending in the right direction? Are we not? Do we need to support the teams to shift or whatever that needs to be done?
Yeah, Anu, you're spot on. I think the one thing that you highlighted that we do well is for each team, making sure they understand how they're connecting to that larger objective of the organization, making sure they understand how their outcomes are supporting that. And to Anu's point, making sure that, people feel comfortable asking if they don't know. But that is mission critical, that each team understands how they plug in to what we're delivering at the end of the day.
Yeah. And the other thing I also want to add on is there are two things from a value perspective for the teams, right? One is what they do as work and deliver for products and customers. The other one is for themselves. That is where we were talking about having development plans and having those check-ins and making sure people connect with people in terms of making some of those opportunities happen for them that are aligned to their aspirations and where they want to go, meeting about the key talent, talking about it. So like, for example, the group I'm part of, that Christine and the rest of the team is part of, we always talk about our talent, our key talent. And that way other colleagues of mine know about my talent. And if I can give them that aspiration that they're looking for in terms of a role or a challenge, then they will pick it up. Hey, Anu, like we have this. Do you want to kind of, do the rotation at some point? And if it works out for the employee, like a lot of things happen like that which I'm like, this is where, like, I think Kirat mentioned, every time she looked up saying, oh my God, am I staying here for longer? You don't feel that way because you have so many other opportunities, so many different businesses and products, and the nature of the work we do, that you can actually get the different experience, but being in the same company and all that stuff.
And I would like to just add one thing is, the value for your teams is when the team is engaged and they're excited about what they're doing and they see the value they bring for the customer. That's how you measure, like, the feedback that we get from our customers. And when they see something that was put in and they get the positive feedback, I think that's where it excites them, right? It's not only from their own personal growth perspective, but also that they're making a difference for our customers. I think that's the value, that when we tie our OKRs to what we are doing for our customers, I think that's how it brings that excitement within the team and the value.
Mm-hmm. And you touched upon personal. My apologies. I've got a puppy that's just going crazy right now. You touched upon personal development. One sec. Okay. You touched upon personal development. So let's get into the next question, because it talks about succession planning. So when I recruit candidates, I typically ask what the most important things are they're looking for in their next opportunity. Typically, besides people and culture, it's also training and succession planning. So can you kindly speak about what succession planning looks like at your company, and what are those checks in for engagement?
Definitely, and maybe I'll ask Christine to add on top. So I like, TR is one place where the succession planning happens very diligently. Like, at least in my experience in the last 5 years, I've always seen it being very diligent. As in, like, we all have our successors. We know kind of, we discuss about those plans and how we can get. Some are right away ready for the role, or some are like, we think within 1 or 2 years they can take that role. Then how do we get them that role? What experience they need, and what are their improvement areas with respect to what they think, with respect to what we think as managers, both, right? Both ways. So it's kind of very diligent process that we do. And once we do that, again, like, we take advantage of rotations that I was talking about. There is this concept of gig that Christine can explain as well, that we do, like, just to give them exposure, encouraging the team to go take up that gig and shine that part of their improvement area, or the area that they want to develop themselves on. So it's really, I think, we start with identifying the key talent, and also making sure, as much as possible, for every talent there is a development plan out there, and managers and their managers are engaged into that development plan to make sure that we are giving them it could be training, sometimes it could be a job opportunity to go learn that on job, or it could be completely something else. Like, we might just put them in a leadership training, or we identify some mentors according to their development plan that are probably not in their chain of command, but they're in another team. Like, I've always said, like, why don't you go mentor? That way they also develop or increase their network and influence within the organization, which is also very important for certain roles and certain kind of changes that they want to take as employees. So a lot of those things, basically, it's not one thing, but it's training is always kind of, followed in every direction that they take at that point. But it's really, it's different for the talent, different for the kind of the opportunity that particular employee is looking for, and all that stuff. Christine, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the really key things that Steve Hasker, our CEO, does is he is very passionate about development, people development. And so twice per year, we actually get together and have a succession planning conversation with Steve for down to a certain level. So he is engaged. He knows who's on the succession plans. We have action items coming out of those succession plans. We have to report back on those action items. So very much a structured process when it comes to certain levels within the organization. Going down deeper into the organization, same thing. We look at, key talent, we have those development conversations, we have the development plans, and we try to link activities to help people realize, and close those gaps of where they need additional learning or additional experience. The gigs is one of the examples that Anu mentioned. A gig is something that anybody can go ahead and raise. And it is a body of work that can be done within a set amount of time that people can go ahead and raise their hands for. So they'll raise their hand if they're interested, and then there can be a whole selection process behind that gig in order to facilitate the selection of who's going to work on that specific project. Not everything goes into the gig piece, but a lot of our special projects do go into the gig format.
Okay, thank you for that. My apologies, but I think we're just running out of time now. We weren't able to get to the last question, but I just want to thank everybody, Anu, Kirat, Sudha, Christine, and all of you for sharing your stories and tuning in. As a reminder, we'll be sending out a recording of today's event along with resources to learn more about opportunities at Thomson Reuters. And we'd love to hear your feedback to help us improve future events. So please head to the Typeform tab on the right side of your screen to share your thoughts in a 1-minute survey. We will also be posting our LinkedIn profiles in the chat. So if you've got any follow-up questions, just please reach out, and I'm sure one of us will follow up with you, okay? Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. So have a great day.
Thanks,
Thank
Malia.
you. Bye-bye.
Facilitating a good discussion. Thank you all.